freedom is fluctuating, right? Freedom flow, that is fluctuating. But freedom requires structure, and you'll hear me say this over and over again. You cannot restrict and have freedom. They coexist, but they don't coexist at the exact same time. You can't have freedom and restriction in the exact same, that you're either restricting or you have freedom, okay? And you think you need to restrict to create the freedom. So that is the lie that you've been telling yourself. But freedom does require structure. So for a fluctuating income, you need the structure to follow. Hello. So excited for today's episode because this is huge for so many people. This was me. This still is me because I'm a business owner. I have a fluctuating income. So it's how to manage a fluctuating income. Okay. There's so many aspects to this, but there's so many people who have fluctuating incomes. And the thing is, what I'm going to share today and what I'm going to talk into, if you earn a set fixed wage or set salary, the principles are still the same for everyone. However, there is a part of having a set salary or set wage provides a level of security or a feeling of security because it's set, it's fixed. But we know that what comes with fixed means there's less opportunity to earn more because there's a fixed, like there's pros and cons to both. But a lot of the time, a lot of my clients come to me and at some degree, they have a fluctuating income, whether they're a business owner themselves. If they're in a relationship and both people are business owners, business is fluctuating revenue anyway. If they're sole traders, being a company is slightly different because you can pay yourself a set wage, but then your company income is fluctuating. Or if it's you or it's clients that I have come and like their husband's on a set salary, but they have fluctuating incomes, how do they manage it together? And especially if they're joining incomes as a partnership. So it can show up in so many different ways. And when we have scarcity and when we have a lack mentality around money, fluctuating is scary because fluctuating doesn't feel stable. And it's so easy to see and feel into the negative part of fluctuating. But when you understand that everything in life is duality, everything has a pro and a con, everything has a positive and a negative. Okay, but based off your beliefs and the energy that you're in, you will see one side over the other side and you'll go towards that one side as your default, as your autopilot. So as I was saying, if you have a scarcity or lack mentality or you feel like money's going to run out or like you would know right now, most people know that there's a level of lack mentality because they feel like money's going to run out. They wish they had more. There's some financial stress in some way. Now, I love that I said that and then lose my train of thought as I say this. You'll know you have some kind of lack mentality because there's some level of stress. So when you have that fluctuating income, all you seem to focus on is this is not as much, this is a lower week, or I have less this week, or you're hanging out, you're actually riding the highs and lows. And this is supporting a feast and famine cycle too. And I know I'm fluctuating incomes, especially when I was living in it in my scarcity mentality. It's when I did earn a lot, I was like, fuck yeah, I have heaps of money. I feel rich this week or this month that the payday came through. I can go buy more things. And honestly, when I have more money or the higher amount comes through, I would just spend more anyway. I'd actually just go buy more fun things because I could cover my bills and buy the fun things. And then when I had the lower amount, when I was riding the low, it's like, it's just got to cover the bills, just make sure I cover the bills. And then I'd feel strapped for cash and feel restricted and be living off rice and beans, being feeling broke. Okay, so let's talk into the mentality of fluctuating incomes. And it's almost like you want to calibrate both sides. You want to change the meaning of it. You actually want to see how fluctuating income can support you and actually how exciting it is. So before you even try and manage a fluctuating income, understand, look into how it's actually super supportive to your lifestyle and the opportunity in it. So when an income is fluctuating, there is opportunity for more. Okay. And this is a duality with everything when it comes to money. The more, yes, there's a potential to earn more, and yes, there's a potential then to earn less, but we need to choose where the focus goes. Your energy flows to where focus goes. Okay, so if you're focused on it always being low, that's what you're going to keep attracting, the lows, and you're just going to really live in the lows. But let's focus on the opportunity of it actually can grow. A fluctuating income means you have the potential to earn more. And potential, that is where the magic is happening, right? Knowing that there's a potential, it builds a level of excitement. It starts to feel the belief. And we know that, well, you won't know this if you've never heard it before, but you're on this journey. You've been listening, you've been binging the podcast, you've been binging the trainings, you're doing the work. You know that when you change your thoughts and match your energy to the outcome that you want to create, that's how you're going to manifest it. That's what manifestation is. Manifestation is you create what you're an energetic match for. So if you're feeling the feast and famine, the highs and lows, the roller coaster, you're going to keep creating that in your life. But if you then shift into, I'm actually going to be focusing on the potential of the fluctuating income, the potential that I can keep growing and evolving, the potential for more, you're going to keep attracting that. So I actually love fluctuating incomes. I love it. I love it. I love it. I used to hate it, but now I love it. Okay. And you want to get yourself to a point anyway that you're so stable within that it doesn't matter the highs and lows. And then having a money management plan, having the practical, and this is the masculine part, to support the fluctuating income, because freedom is fluctuating, right? Freedom flow, that is fluctuating. But freedom requires structure, and you'll hear me say this over and over again. You cannot restrict and have freedom. They coexist, but they don't coexist at the exact same time. You can't have freedom and restriction in the exact same. Like you're either restricting or you have freedom, okay? And you think you need to restrict to create the freedom. So that is the lie that you've been telling yourself. But freedom does require structure. So for a fluctuating income, you need the structure to follow. And the thing is, my clients who have a set wage, set salary, they follow the same structure, and it's fine because it's, as I said, it's the same principles that works for everyone. So I want to dive into that a little bit more. And I guess I'm sharing this because I actually had, I'm going to be giving a lot of information, and you might need to re-listen to this episode over and over for it to sink in. And the reason that this topic is of discussion today is because one of my clients inside my Wealthy as Fuck program, she put up in our group saying that, she is a business owner. She's a sole trader. And so she has a fluctuating income there. So when she runs her money through our blueprint and then pays herself her wage and runs your money. So you have a blueprint for your business and you have a blueprint for your life, because some people don't have a business, they earn a wage, right? So you have your life blueprint spreadsheet to manage your money with the principles, the wealth principles. And then you have one for your business if you're a business owner. And she's like, well, that means my wage fluctuates because she pays her wage from her business income. It's the same percentage. And the structure is the set percentage. But we know that a percentage, if you get paid $1,000 one week and you're paying yourself 50%, that's $500. But then if you earn $2,000 the next week and you pay yourself 50%, that's $1,000. So the figure, the amount, the monetary amount is then fluctuating. And she was messaging and asking for help because, especially when you first set up your blueprint, there is a teething period. Okay? Everyone wants a quick fix, but there's no quick fix. It's a teething period because you're breaking the old pay to payday, week to week habits of managing your money to then extending it out over a 12-month period, getting the principles in place. So there's always enough money, no matter on the weeks that you have bigger bills to the weeks that you have less bills. It all works out. It actually all smooths it out. So there's always enough, always. But there's the teething period to get this set up. And she's in the crux of this teething period. And she's like, there's weeks where I don't earn as much, and then I run my money through the spreadsheet, and even though the percentage is set, the amount is less than what I need to pay my rent or pay my mortgage and do X, Y, Z. So how do we manage this? So I shared with her, there's actually two ways to do it. I did it, it took longer, it felt a little bit harder, but it was better for long-term sustainability. And that's when I first implemented and learnt these principles to manage my money. Sorry, just sipping on my coffee while I chat to you. When I first did that, I got paid monthly in my previous business, and it was always fluctuating. And I actually had to work out how to pay myself weekly from a monthly income when I get paid monthly. So there was a long teething period, and my husband at the time, he was also working. He was still not on a set wage. He was a subcontractor, but if he worked more hours, he would get paid more. So there wasn't a set weekly wage he would earn. So his was fluctuating too. So I did it the hard way. There is a slightly easier way, which I'll share with you guys today, that you can do as well, but it's short term only. It is not for the long term. And it's that short term as you start to build the healthy habits with managing your money. And this works really well from a point of if you're a business owner and you run a company, because the way that you receive income, just as a little summary, like when you're a sole trader, all the money you earn is your money, is your income, and you pay your tax off that. Okay. Whereas a company, it's the company's money, and then you physically pay yourself a set wage into then your name from that. So the only way your income would be fluctuating is if you pay yourself for a different amount of hours. I know a lot of the time, like myself included, as a company owner, you usually pay yourself your set salary, set wage, especially when you're like me. Yes, I'm a CEO of a company, but I still have a small team. I'm still a small business. So there's still a lot of things I do myself within my company as my company is growing. So there are weeks, if I take a week off or only work a couple of hours, I'm still going to pay myself the same, as there's weeks where I work way more than the set hours that I probably should, or how I say I pay myself. That will make sense to you as a company owner, and you pay yourself a wage from your company. Okay, so I'll talk about what feels harder but better for long term, and then I'll go into the kind of quicker, easier to manage short term, but you're still then will transition into the next phase. There's just 2 steps rather than just getting this first step done. So when it's fluctuating and you follow these principles, there's a level of commitment. You have to commit. So when you work out all your expenses, all your lifestyle commitments, what is a necessity, what is a desire, and there's a level of what desires need to be a necessity for your life. For example, I get pedicures. Some would say they're a luxury. To me, they're an absolute necessity, and I can tell you all the reasons why. It's an absolute necessity to my life. Okay? But there's things like paying for water, electricity, the absolute necessities to have a quality of life, right? So the principle is when you receive your money. Sorry, I went on a tangent. Love that I went on a tangent. So you work out exactly all your commitments, what it is for your life. So we're going with life first. Don't worry about your business right now. Life first, always life first. What are your commitments? What are the bills? What are the non-negotiables? Work out what that is, right? And then work out what that is annually. And then if you divide it by 52, you're going to work out how much you need to receive as a wage, so a business owner, how much you need to pay yourself to cover that. Now, if you're in a space where, because you have a fluctuating business income, work out the bare ass minimum. Anyway, okay? You don't have to pause on that. You're going to work out the bare ass minimum anyway, but you're still going to make sure you account for any savings or travel goals, or you get to decide. You're going to work out how much you need based on what your goals are, as well as your expense, like committed expenses. Then say, I'm just going to use just random numbers as an example. Okay, say that works out to, I need to pay myself $1,000 a week to cover all the things. All right, I'm just using easy numbers. So it's $52,000 for the year. Okay, that's your wage. So then, I've gone and done, I love it when I do this. I'm going into teach you step 2. So you've worked that out anyway, but when you're using the Wealthy as Fuck blueprint, you would put this in because we still need to project the numbers. However, you get from doing that and you put it in the spreadsheet, and it formulates all your percentages for you to divide out what you need for each thing. The harder way, but for quicker long-term sustainability, the short-term harder way is no matter, even though you need your $1,000, say one week your business pays you and you can't pay yourself the $1,000, you roll with it. You still divide up in your percentages because you're going to have weeks where you can pay yourself more than $1,000, and it will buffer out. Like it will come out and it come out in the wash, or whatever that saying is. And that's what me and my husband and I, what I did. I'm like, what's the correct grammar of that? That's what we did. And it took a solid 6 months for everything to start balancing out. And we had weeks where, and you know what? There was weeks where we didn't have enough for certain bills. But the thing is, this is where you step into personal power. You make the phone calls to change payment dates to align with your pay and whatnot, or spread it out. Like, we had all of our insurances come out in the same week. They now come out at different times of the week. And they've been doing that for years and years and years. And now it doesn't really actually matter because our blueprint works seamlessly for us. But you've got to step into your personal power and make the changes that's going to actually suit your lifestyle. Okay, so if you're like, okay, I'm just going to commit to it, and there's some weeks there's less, some weeks there's more, but it'll all work out in the wash in the end, because amounts will buffer in certain accounts for your lower weeks from when you paid yourself more the higher weeks. So that's why you think when you have your business blueprint, say 1 week you earn $1,500, the next week you get paid $2,000, and then the next week after that $1,700. And I'm just saying, if you base this off, you're running it through your business blueprint weekly, your percentages of how you divide up for your savings, your tax, your business expenses, of how much you pay yourself, like how you divide it up, the percentages are the same, but see how then when you pay yourself a wage, it fluctuates. But if you stick to that, right, and you know that you need a minimum of $1,000 a week for your personal wage, but if there's 1 week that you pay yourself $900, it works out, and then the next week it works out $1,200. Can you see the next week, like if you have your separate account set up, the money's going to buffer in those accounts for you, so it's all going to work out. So that's where I was going with that. Probably a long-winded way to explain it, but that's how I roll. Then the other option I gave this client is more for the short term, whilst building new habits and completely rearranging and shifting the version of you who manages their money, right? Completely new way. Like, you're eliminating all the old beliefs and stories that you learned about money your whole life into how there's a better way to manage it for flow and for sustainability and for security. So then there's the option of, okay, then work out your absolute bare ass minimum. And I mean bare ass minimum, savings is a principle, like always saving, even if it works out to like $5 a week, it doesn't matter. It's the principle of saving first, not the amount. Like, the amount's irrelative. It's the energetic point of saving first. But if you're like, okay, right now I really want to have a big savings and I also want to go on lots of holidays, but everything's so messy and you're like, my business income isn't supporting a wage that's going to be able to do that for me right now. And that's why my clients come in and do this blueprint and get this set up. Short term, for lack of a better word, it's like you postpone the travel, right? I'm just using travel as the example because it is a luxury in the sense of you could travel and do a weekend little staycay, or you could do a big 6-month fucking world tour. Like, it's not a set thing. It's different for everyone, and you can have cheaper travel trips and more expensive travel trips. So anyway, say you're like, I do have those big goals for that, and I do want, like, long term, I want big money buffering in accounts for travel or buying assets or whatever it might be. But short term, we just need to get some stability set up with your fluctuating income. So then this is where you work out your absolute bare ass minimum of all your life expenses, but you still need to give yourself a little bit of spendings. Because I can tell you right now, if you're in a space where you're just covering bills and rent and paying off debt or whatever, and you're not giving yourself even money to go get a coffee, go get the pedicure once a month or whatever it might be, you'll be in a resentment, restrictive energy, and it's not going to help you. It's only going to keep you feeling broke. So work out your bare ass minimum of all your expenses that you're committed to, and plus give yourself some spendings. How much spendings can I have every week? Whether you save it up to go get your hair done, or you like to buy clothes, or you like to take yourself out for brunch, work out that amount. Just for an example, say it's like, I want at least $100 a week for spendings, no questions asked, to do whatever I want with. Okay, factor that in. And say then you're like, okay, I need to pay myself, for example, minimum $1,000 a week. What you can do is when you get your business money, you can set yourself, because this is how you would do it in a company anyway, it would be a set wage you pay yourself. You're like, you have to pay yourself $1,000 as your wage. So and this is why I'm saying this is short term, only for a couple of months, as everything starts to smooth out with your money management in your life. Okay, so say you get paid $1,500 this week in your business, so you know you need to pay yourself $1,000 wage. So that other $500, you've got to put aside for tax, your savings and expenses. So you might not be able to save much. There's always the principle of saving first. It might work out to $1. Again, it's the act of saving. Okay? and then you have your tax portion anyway that goes aside. So what's going to happen is you can do that. Then there's going to be the week that you earn the $2,000 and you only need to pay yourself your $1,000 wage. You have more buffering up in your business savings. You wouldn't even need more for your business expenses because you don't need to put more into business expenses because you'll manifest more expenses. Okay. So you can bump up your business savings buffer, which as a sole trader can act as wage for when you need to pay yourself more if you want to give yourself a bonus. So do you see with this, you can fix your wage and then and then work out the percentages for the leftover. Okay. The percentages will still be the same, but you can only do this short term because you don't want to mess up anything to do. You don't want to fuck with the tax. You just want to make sure you don't want to be giving yourself a tax bill or whatnot, but you can temporarily do this. I probably even recommend like 4 weeks, do it for the next 4 weeks as you're smoothing out everything. The whole point of it is to apply structure, give yourself a sense of stability. When you're in that energy of, I've got things covered, things are stable, I know how much I need to pay, but you're in a more receptive energy to attract more money in. And as a business owner, you're here to make sales in your business. Otherwise, you don't have a business. The main goal of a business is to turn a profit. Okay, so you can pay yourself all the things. But you will make more sales and you will receive more money when you're in a more open, calm, relaxed, abundant energy. But see how we have to just control some of the practical with your money management so you can be in a better energy. So you're either going to listen to this and be like, yep, that made absolute sense. You might be listening to me like, Kim, what the fuck? Because your brain is so hardwired and conditioned to just whatever money comes in, divide it up, pay the bills first because that's what you were told to do, and hopefully have something left over. Okay, but all that does is keep you in a payday to payday cycle. It always keeps you in feeling like you can never get ahead or there's not enough, or you're just chasing your tail. And we want to break out of that. So then once you've done those, say, 4 weeks of paying yourself a set wage, and then you're going to start to see, it's like that beta test. You've got to test it out. You've got to see what's working, what's not working, where can I make the tweaks. But this is why my clients, we do the mindset work, we do the energetic work. There's a full 7 steps to set up your blueprint. So there's a proper way to do that. And then you get a spreadsheet that's formulated so you don't have to make one yourself. So it's just plug and play and you do it all yourself. And when this is happening, like my clients are attracting in more money anyway. They're getting the personal power, or they're taking back control. So if there's no work for a week, or you receive a big chunk of money in your business because you've done a big sale or a big launch and you're an energetic match for more, you can actually handle it. You're not off spending it. You can manage it better. You can rearrange and tweak the structure. Okay, so I gave a bit out through that with what the structure looks like, but this is how I would manage a fluctuating income. Work off 12 months. Know your 12 months of, because it's just so easy to do this, right? Because in Australia, you get your electricity bill every couple of months. So 6 times a month you get an electricity bill. Work out the average of what your annual spend is with that. Same as your gas bill. You know what your rent or mortgage will be for the year. Okay, work out what your groceries are off an average, like what can you do as a weekly spend. What else is there? There's so many different things, like your phone bill, a lot of your bills that are like monthly and are usually a set amount, you just work it out what the annual figure is. And then this is where you can step into that space of, well, there's options, like car retros. If you pay annually, you save a little bit. Now there's 2 types of people. There's a type of person who pays annually because they want to save that little extra bit, but they have the cash flow to pay annually, and it's all a bigger part of the strategy of that extra savings goes into my investment portfolio, right? Because every dollar adds up. Or there's the person from scarcity that's like, oh, fuck, I'll just pay it off in full, and, because it is cheaper, but that's just going to keep me short for the next month because I just put all my money into my big bills, but then that will just free up the rest of the year. But they're not saving again for the next 12-month bill. They're just waiting, and when it comes, they're in that like feast and famine cycle annually. You don't want to be doing that. And what I share with you with this is I can easily afford to pay my car rego annually. I can afford, this year we paid our rates annually. The year before we paid our rates weekly. And I think it was slightly cheaper annually. Car retro definitely is. There's other things too. I can't think of the top of my head, but a lot of like business stuff I can pay annually because they usually want you pay and they give you a discount or whatnot. But we still, to this day, I'm 7 years in, hubby and I still pay our car retros every 3 months because it's easier for our cash flow. There's no emotion attached. We don't want to pay it annually. We're happy to pay it, but we're not doing it from a scarcity like I can only afford 3 months at a time. It's not about that. We could pay it up front if we wanted to, but it just works into our system better and we're still saving and still doing our things. Can you see how there's a different energy to it and the reasons why you're doing it and behind that? But we pay our rates annually and we put aside for it. So when it's due next year, like the money's already there. So we have systems set up to support that. Not, I know my mum did this a lot. My dad probably does do it. He just doesn't talk about it a lot. I know I grew up hearing it like, oh, we're just going to pay the big bills. We've paid it all off because it's cheaper. We save the $10, but then they think they save the $10 or the $20 and that's amazing. But when you're in this, and it is amazing, but when you're in the scarcity energy and then the rest of the month is, oh, just playing catch up, we pay back the credit card, we don't have enough. You create that for yourself. You actually have created that reality for yourself and that energy for yourself. And then 6 months pass and you're not even thinking about your car retro that's due in another 6 months because scarcity doesn't think into the future because it scares them even more, it makes them more anxious. And then you live in the moment. And then when it starts to creep up, you're like, fuck, why did I do that? I left it for future self problem and now the future self is catching up and I've got to deal with this. So that's just some food for thought, some perspective there of how to manage your money and why you want to be like looking at it from a 12-month plan. Work out then what your weekly averages you need to cover that. Then you're going to know how much it is you need. And then if you do start earning more, because you will when you put the structure in place, you're aligning with the universal law of handling what you have. So the more you learn to handle what you have, the more you shall receive. Okay? And when you start doing that, you start attracting in more money and then you'll notice your savings increasing. You can take the travel trips more. You can start buying more clothes or whatever it is that lights you up, buying the nicer gifts for friends, actually not feeling resentful or stressed at Christmas time and actually excited to be able to not stick to a strict secret Santa because you are in abundance and overflow. You have the money there. But that's because you've set the structure up to support it. Anyway, hope that helped. Make sure if you have any questions, honestly, just come connect with me on Instagram. It's KimKent_. Check out all the links in the show notes to see how you can stay in my world, connect with me. There's a free savings stacker cheat sheet that you can download if you click the link in the show notes so you can at least start learning some of my principles around savings and stacking your savings no matter how much you earn. Okay? And that's some structure there, providing you with some structure for that. And just come be in my world, come ask any questions, share this with anyone that you know needs to hear this. And I'm just so grateful to have you here. Please leave a review, all the things, and I'll chat to you on the next episode.